The Plum in the Golden Vase Embroidery Chongzhen Edition Chapter 61. Simon King Cheng was drunk and burned his vulva. Li Ping'er was sick and feasted on the Double Nine Festival. The word says, the cry of crickets frightens the autumn pillow, and the Mandarin duck brocade is wet with tears. Lying alone, the jade's skin is cold, and the disability and hatred are long. The gloomy wind blows through the green cover, the rain is stringent, and the lights dim. After all, I can't sleep, the crow crows, and the golden well is cold. It is said that one day, when Han Dao came home from his country shop and slept until midnight, his wife Wang Liuer discussed with him, "You and I were taken care of by him and earned some money, so we should prepare a banquet and invite him to sit down." He lost his child again, just to relieve his boredom. How much can he eat? Even if the young man looks at each other, he will know that the rich man is closer to you and me than others. Han Daoguo said, "That's what I said in my heart. Tomorrow is the 5th day of the lunar month, which is not good. On the 6th day, we will arrange a banquet, call 2 singers, and bring a card. When I come to the house in person, I will invite Dad to relieve his boredom. Sit down. I'll go to sleep in the shop at night. What's the name of Ping Bai? I'm afraid it won't be convenient for him to sit in the house next door. The other daughter, Sister Shen, is young and can sing, but he is blind. It would be easy to send him away." "You are right," Han Daoguo said. One night scene has been mentioned. The next day, Han Daoguo walked to the shop. Young An Wen Shukai wrote an invitation to see Simon King in person, and after finishing his voice, he said, "Tomorrow, I will have a glass of water and wine at my house. If you have nothing to do, please come with me. Come down and sit down for a day." He handed over the invitation. Simon King looked at it and said, "Why are you bothering with this? I'll have nothing to do tomorrow. I'll just go home from the Yamen." Han Daoguo said goodbye and went out. The next morning, I used my money to ask the younger generation who's you to buy some food and vegetables, and asked the cook to clean it up. I also picked up the second Sister Shen in a sedan chair. Wang Liuer and his maid served tea and water, and waited for Simon King to arrive. In the afternoon, I saw Qin Tunger first bringing a jar of wine, and then Simon King was sitting in a sedan chair, followed by Diane and Hong Jing. "So Boots." Han Daoguo welcomed him in. After seeing the courtesy, he said, "Thank you again, Dad, for the wine." A high chair was placed in front of him, and Simon King sat down. After a while, Wang Liuer came out dressed up, kowtowed with Simon King for times, and went back to watch tea. After a while, Wang Jing brought out tea. Han Daoguo first took a cup, held it high, and offered it to Simon King, then took a cup for himself and stayed with him. After eating, Wang Jing took the teacup and put it down. Han Daoguo then said, "I owe you a great kindness from my father. I am always away from home. My daughter-in-law at home is taken care of by my father." Wang Jing is promoted again and asked to agree to stay at home. "I am grateful. Not bad. My brother was gone the day before yesterday. Although I was there, my daughter-in-law didn't go to the house to ask questions because she felt a little cold. I'm afraid I'll be annoyed if one of them asks me to relieve my boredom. It's my fault." Simon King said, "I'll tell you two to worry about it if you don't have anything to do." As he said this, Wang Liuer also sat down next to him, because he asked Han Daoguo, "Have you told Dad?" Daoguo said, "I haven't said it yet." Simon King asked, "What is it?" Wang Liuer said, "He wants to invite two people inside today. I'm afraid it will be inconvenient for his sister to come to wait on my father, so I won't invite her. A daughter from the music family next door is called Second Sister Shen. She can sing all kinds of popular songs. I saw her at the house the day before yesterday. That Sister Yu singing is also a hit. Not as good as that of Sister Shen. I asked her to come and sing with me today. I wonder how you feel about it. If so, I'll call you home tomorrow. Come in and sing with your mother." Simon King said, "Since you have a daughter, please come out and let me take a look." After a while, Han Daoguo called Diane to come up and take off his clothes. While the table was being set, Yu brought fruits, vegetables, and wine to the table. Wang Liuer opened the wine, heated it up, held the pot beside him, and Daoguo held the cup. He and Simon King sat down at the banquet, and then called out the second Sister Shen. Simon King opened his eyes and looked, and saw that he was wearing a high bun with a few branches of sparse green flowers, a light hairpin comb, a green coat and a red skirt, showing a pair of golden lotus crotches. Her peach cheeks and pink face were covered with too thin spring lines. Wang Shengkoto to Simon King for times. Simon King asked, "Please get up. How young are you now?" Second sister Shen said, "The younger one is 21 years old." Then asked, "How many songs do you remember?" Second sister Shen said, "Young and old also remember 110. Set a tune." Simon King asked Han Daoguo to sit next to him. Second sister Shen bowed forward and then sat down. "First I sang a set of Autumn Fragrance Pavilion with the Jung, then ate soup and rice, put on a new one, and sang another set of Half-Thousand Thieves." After coming up to the wine stall, Simon King ordered, "Take the zither over, take the pipa with him, and wait for him to sing some short lyrics while I listen." The second sister Shen immediately wanted to show off that he could play and sing. While gently shaking her sleeves, she straddled her silk gauze, opened her throat, lowered her strings, and played Seeing Sheep on the Hillside. After singing, Han Jia, a Han Daoist official, poured out a cup and handed it to Simon King. Wang Liuer said, "Second sister Shen, you still have a good song Suo Nazi. Sing to songs with daddy." Then the second sister Shen changed the tune and sang So Nazi and said, "When we first met, we were pleasant, young, no more than 20 years old. There are two dark clouds in the black, ginseng, red and fragrant red lips, and a peach-like face like a tender bamboo shoot. If you were born in Huajlantang, Duan would also have a wife. It's a pity that in Jiangtai, he was a low-ranking official, but being able to remarry and become a good person is like abandoning the old and welcoming the new. When we met for the first time, he was charming. Her face was full of flowers, and she was the least in the dust. He has a thin waist that can only be described with a twist, and a charming heart that is difficult to learn. I only regret that I didn't meet him too early. Often they would sit on the mat in front of the bottle, pour wine and sing in a low voice, hugging each other. One look at it makes you feel true, and one look at it makes you full. Although it is a moment of joy, it will relieve the boredom and sorrow." Simon King was very happy after hearing these to Suo Nazi. Just as he first invited Zheng Yuer, Wang Liuer filled another cup and said with a smile, "Dad, drink slowly." Second sister Shen is only a fraction of the time. He can remember many small orders. "I'll have some free time tomorrow. Take it." The sedan was picked up, and every time he sang it, Guan King was better than Sister Yu. Simon King Yin said, "Sister Shen, I will send someone to pick you up on the Double Nine Festival. Are you going to go?" he said. "What did Dad say? But how dare you disobey me when you call me?" Simon King was overjoyed when he heard that he spoke eloquently. After a while exchanging cups, Wang Liuer was afraid that it would be inconvenient to talk during the dinner. So he asked him to sing a few sets, and then quietly said to Han Daoguo, "Teach the young man to recruit younger brothers, and send him to sister-in-law Lisan's house to rest." Before leaving to say goodbye, Simon King took out a bag of 3 coins from his sleeve and rewarded him with buying a string. Second sister Shen quickly nodded and thanked her. Simon King made an appointment. "I will send someone to invite you on the 8th day of the lunar month." Wang Liuer said, "Father just sent Wang Jing to come and tell me that I will teach the boy here to invite him." After saying that, the second sister Shen went to the next door. Han Daoguo told his wife, and went to sleep in the shop. Only his wife was left at the table, playing dice and drinking with Simon King. After eating for a while, the two of them started to salivate. Simon King stood up to change his clothes, then walked into the woman's room, where the two of them played against the door. Wang Jing took out the lamps and candles and drank with Diane and Kintonger in the first half of the room. Husu, the younger generation, secretly ate a few bowls of wine in the kitchen, sent the cook away, walked to the Buddha and Ancestor Hall next to Wang Liuer, where there was a mat spread on the ground, and fell asleep. After a good sleep, he suddenly heard a voice calling from the woman's room, and saw a light shining through the cracks in the wall. He only knew that Simon King had gone and Han Daoguo was resting in the room. Secretly, he used the hairpin on his head to pierce the paper stuck in the seam of the board and looked over there. Seeing the bright lights in the room over there, I thought that Simon King and his wife were doing a good job in the room. Ling Lingli saw that his wife's legs were hung on the head of the bed with leg straps. Simon King, who was wearing a silk jacket on his upper body and his lower body was naked, was walking back and forth on the edge of the bed, moving and silent, fanning himself. The beating was so loud that all kinds of words came out of my wife's mouth. For a long time, I just heard my wife say, "My dear, if you want to burn the whore, just burn whatever piece you choose in your heart. The whore will not dare to stop you. The body of the whore belongs to you, so you are afraid of those things." Simon King said, "I'm afraid that your family is angry." His wife said, "How dare he be angry?" Simon King said, "Since you are so devoted. As for me, when I send him and Lai Bao off, I'll keep him in the south as a buyer." My wife said, "After a while, I'll teach him to stay idle." "What are you doing at home?" He said he is used to going out, and he only wants to go out. It would be great if you look after him. When he comes back, I will find someone for him, and I won't want him. I will only focus on you. You can place me wherever you want. If I say something false, the body of the whore will be ruined. Simon King said, "My son, please stop gambling." Who's you listened with great joy. Han Daoguo didn't see Who's you at home first, and only said that he went to sleep in the shop. He went to the satin shop and asked Wang Xian and Rong Hai, saying that he hadn't come. Han Daoguo walked home again and asked to open the door. He looked for Who's you in front and back, and when he got there, he saw Wang Jing, Diane and Qintong eating wine in front. When Who's you heard his voice coming home, she quickly fell down on the table and fell asleep again. After a while, Han Daoguo lit a lamp and found him under the Buddhist hall. He saw him snoring in his nose and mouth. He kicked him awake and cursed. "You thief and a stray dog on death row. Don't get up. I just said to go to sleep in the shop first. You are here. You had a good sleep. Why don't you get up and come with me?" Who's you stood up, rubbed his eyes, and followed Daoguo to the shop. Simon King played with his wife for an hour before finally getting over it. Burned the incense in Wang Liuer's heart and mouth, put it on the lid and on the bones of the tail pavilion. The wife got up and put on her clothes, taught the girl how to scoop out water and wash her hands, then sifted the warm wine, served the delicacies, and talked about love on the plate. After eating for a few more minutes, he got up and mounted his horse, followed by Diane, Wang Jing and Qintong. It was already the second watch when I got home, so I walked to Li Pinger's room. Li Pinger was sleeping on the bed. When he saw him coming and having a hearty meal, he said, "Whose house are you drinking at today?" "Boring." He called a female teacher, Sister Shen, who was very young and can't sing. "Let's not talk about Sister Yu. Wait until the Double Ninth Festival tomorrow to bring him to his home, and you will sing with him every time he sings for 2 days. You can relieve your boredom. If you are worried, don't just think about him." Then he asked Yingshen to take off his clothes and sleep with Li Pinger. Li Pinger said, "You have nothing to say. There is a constant flow down here, and the girl is boiling medicine for me. Just go to sleep in someone else's room. You just look at me looking good all day long, and I can only breathe. Here you are, pestering me again." Simon King said, "My darling, I can't let you go. What can I do?" Li Pinger glanced at him and smiled. "Who will believe your false talk? I will die tomorrow, and you won't be able to let me go." He added, "Yaifa, wait for me to be well. It won't be too late for you to come in and sleep with me again." Simon King, after sitting for a while, he said, come on. If you don't keep me, just wait until I go to Panliura's place to sleep." Li Pinger said, "So if you go, you won't have to bend your heart. I'm waiting for you there. And you're so angry that you don't go, but you come to my room in a hurry." Simon King said, "You can tell me, I won't go." Li Pinger said with a smile, "I'm coaxing you to go." Then he sent Simon King away. Li Pinger got up and sat on the bed, waiting for him to take medicine. When I picked up the medicine, I couldn't help but feel the fragrance, and tears rolled down my cheeks. I took a long breath before taking the medicine. Exactly, my heart was filled with sadness. So I gave the Oriole a few calls. Let's not talk about Li Pinger taking medicine and falling asleep. Let's just talk about Simon King going to Pan Jinlian's room. Jinlian asked Chun Mai to cover the lamp and go to bed. Suddenly, Simon King pushed the door open and came in, and said, "My child, you went to bed early again." Jinlian said, "Lucky. The wind blew you into my room. So she asked, whose house did you go to for a drink today? Simon King said, Han, the clerk, came from the south. He saw that I had lost my child. On the one hand, he wanted to relieve my boredom. And on the other hand, he took care of him after he had been outside. So he invited me to sit down. Jin Lian said, he is outside, and you are taking care of his wife at home. Simon King said, friend, how can this be possible? The woman said, friend, this is possible. There is a string tied to the waist. Just in case it goes beyond the boundary. You are still playing tricks on me. I'm those who know are getting impatient. It's your birthday. And the whore is not here. You secretly gave Li Ping's longevity hairpin, the yellow cat with black tail, to him, and asked him to wear it to show off. Auntie, Meng Sanner, who in this family didn't see it. When I asked him, his face turned red. Didn't he tell you? Today she went there again, a shameless thief, a big whore with long eyebrows, long hair, and bright red lips, just like other people's blood. What a good wife, a big purple-cheeked black whore. I don't know what you like about her. She said angrily that she would provoke her ungrateful brother-in-law in the future, so that he could report it back in the morning and evening. Simon King refused to admit it and said with a smile, you little servant, you are just talking nonsense. How could there be such a thing? Today he is a man sitting with me, and he didn't come out. The woman said, you are trying to fool me with this? Everyone knows that he is a bastard. He herds sheep and collects firewood. He left his wife to you and wants to do your business to make money. You are such a fool. You can only listen to the gunfire 40 miles. Simon King took off his clothes and sat on the edge of the bed. The woman reached out and pulled open his pants. She felt that his penis was soft and jingling, and the butt was still on it. She said, you come again. You boiled the preserved duck in the pot. The body is rotten, but she still has a tough mouth. Seeing that Mr. Bio is here, how can the robber and the whore be so stubborn and come home so late? Even in such a state, she still has a tough mouth. You swear, I will ask Chun Mai to scoop a bowl of cold water, and you just drink it, and I will consider you brave. In fact, salt is so salty, vinegar is so sour, and the bald man is caught in the net. Let this sip go. If I believe in you, you can play with all the wives in the world. You shameless thief, a big-eyed angry man. You are a man. If you are a wife, you will keep all the women in the streets and alleys. A few words made Simon King open his eyes and just laugh. He got on the bed and asked Chun Mai to sift some hot liquor. He took out a pill from the golden-pierced heart box, put it in his mouth, and swallowed it. He then lay on his back on the pillow and told the woman, my son, go down and let me taste it for you. It's your luck whether you can taste it or not. The woman pretended to be Kiao Zhongji and said, how clean. You got through that horse hole and asked me to suck it for you. It's so disgusting. Simon King said, you little whore. You just talk nonsense. How can there be such a thing? The woman said, how can there be such a thing? Do you swear on your body? After a while of chaos, she asked Simon King to go down and get some water, but Simon King refused to go down. The woman took out a handkerchief from her sleeve, wiped the words once, and then covered them with her red lips. After a long while of sucking, the penis he was sucking on was throbbing and he became furious. He then wrote on the woman, inserted the handle of his penis into her vagina from behind, cupped her buttocks with both hands, squatted and swung them, and slapped her wantonly, with a series of loud sounds. Under the light, he watched his movements in and out, and the woman fell on the pillow, raising her buttocks to meet him for a long time. Simon King Shing was still not satisfied, so he made the woman lie on her back, applied a pink drug on his penis, pushed it in, held her feet, and raised her waist, exposing her buttocks, and tossed her 200 to 300 degrees. The woman could not bear it any longer, and she closed her eyes and trembled, shouting, Dad, you should just give in to me this time, and don't use him. Simon King called out, little whore, are you afraid of me or not? Dare to be rude again. The woman said, my dad, please give in to me. I won't dare to do it again. Dad, lift it slowly. You see, it's messing up my hair. The two of them made love for half a night, and finally went to bed tired. Let's not talk too much. It's the Double Nine Festival again. Simon King said to Wu Yunyang, Han's partner invited me the day before yesterday, a singer named Shen Erji, who was both talented and good at singing. I asked the servant to pick her up, keep her for 2 days, and teach her to sing for you. He also ordered the kitchen to prepare food, fruit and wine, and set up a large 8-immortal table in the Jujing Hall with a large roll-up shed in the garden, and the whole family celebrated the double 9th festival. Soon, Shen Erji, who was brought by Wang Jing's sedan chair, arrived. After entering the back, he kowtowed to Yunyang and the others. Yunyang saw that he was young and good-looking. She asked him how many sets he could sing, and he knew very few, but he could remember quite a few of the various ditties. While sending him to have tea and snacks, she taught him to sing duets in the back, and then set up a banquet in the garden. That day, Simon King did not go to the government office, but planted chrysanthemums at home. Yunyang, Li Zhaoer, Meng Yulu, Pan Jinlian, Li Ping'er, Sun Zui, and the eldest sister were invited to sit at the banquet. Chen Mai, Yu Xiao, Ying Shen and Lang Sheng were serving wine. Second sister Shen played the pipa and sang. Li Ping'er was in the room, and because she was not feeling well, she came after half a day. Just like being blown down by the wind, she forced herself to stay with Simon King. And everyone asked her to drink, but she didn't drink much. Simon King and Yu Niang saw that he had a worried look on his face and frowned, so they said, "Sisterly, relax and teach Sister Shen to play and sing a song for you." Yulu said, "Tell him what song he should sing so that he can sing it well." Li Ping'er just kept silent. While they were drinking, Wang Jing suddenly came and said, "Daddy Ying and Uncle Chang are here." Simon King said, "Please ask your Uncle Ying and Uncle Chang to sit in the small pavilion, and I will come." Wang Jing said, "Uncle Chang asked someone to bring the boxes outside." Simon King said to Yu Niang, "This is because he bought gifts to thank me for his success in the house." Yu Niang said, "We have to arrange something to entertain him. How can we leave him alone? You can sit with him. I will order the dishes here." Before Simon King came out, he called Sister Shen again. "Sing a good song for your 6th mother to listen to." He went straight to the front. Jinlian said, "I haven't seen this elder sister Li. Just think of any song in your mind and teach the 2nd sister Shen to sing it. You have let down his father. I called him here for you, but you didn't say anything." Li Ping'er was pressed and became anxious. After a long time, she said, "Sing Purple Streets and Red Dust." The 2nd sister Shen said, "It's okay, I have it." Then she took the zither and sang a set of songs in her throat. After singing, Wu Yunyang said, "Elder sister Li, it's good sweet wine. Have a cup of it." Li Ping'er didn't dare to disobey. She took the cup and swallowed it, then put it down. After sitting for a while, she felt hot downstairs and went back to the house. I won't go into details. Let's talk about Simon King when he arrived at the Jade Pavilion in the small scroll pavilion. He saw Ying Boju and Chang Jiji looking at chrysanthemums under the pine wall. There were 20 pots of chrysanthemums on both sides of the pine wall, all 7 feet high, with various famous varieties, including Da Hong Pao, Chuang Yuan Hong, Si Pao Jin Dai, Bai Fen Shi, Huang Fen Shi, Tian Xing, Sui Yang Fei, Yu Mu Dan, Yi Mao Ju, Yuan Yang. When Simon King came out, the 2 men bowed to him. Chang Jiji immediately called the person who came with him to bring in the box. Simon King asked, "What is it?" The Earl said, "Second brother Chang has been treated with kindness by you and has become your wife. He has no way to repay you, so he asked his wife to prepare these crabs and to roast ducks and invited me to sit with you." Simon King said, "Second brother Chang, why are you bothering to do this? Your brother is just getting better, and you are hurting him." The Earl said, "That's what I said. He asked for something else, but I'm afraid you don't want it." Simon King asked his attendants to open the box and take a look. 40 large crabs, all cleaned, stuffed with meat, wrapped with pepper, ginger, garlic, rice and flour, and cooked with sesame oil, soy sauce and vinegar. They are fragrant, crispy and delicious. There are also 2 large roast ducks in the courtyard. After seeing it, Simon King immediately asked Chen Hong and Wang Jing to take it in, and ordered to give 50 coins to the person who brought the box, and then thanked Chang Jiji. Qin Tong lifted the curtain beside him and invited him to sit in the Jade Pavilion. The Countess kept praising the chrysanthemums and asked, "Where did you find them, brother?" Simon King said, Eunuch Liu, who was in charge of the brick factory, gave them to me. He gave me 20 pots, including the pots. The count said, the flowers are not a big deal. These pots are exactly the double-hoop doenjang pots from the official kiln. They are made of silk, and the mud is stepped on by feet before being fired. They are made in the same way as the doenjang bricks in Suzhou. Where can I find them now? He praised again. Simon King ordered tea and asked, when did second brother Chang move in? The Earl said, he moved in 3 days after exchanging the silver. Yesterday, I saw that it was a good day, so I bought some groceries and opened a shop at the door. It's second brother Chang's sister-in-law and her brother who are looking after the silver for him in the shop. Simon King said, I will buy some gifts from time to time. Don't bring too many people. I will also invite 3 or 4 of you, Zizichen, and I will prepare the dishes and carry them over. Don't bother second brother Chang with his things. I will hire 2 prostitutes to warm his room and have fun for a day. Chang Jiji said, I would like to invite you to come and have a seat, but I dare not. The place is narrow and I am afraid it would be disrespectful to you. Simon King said, don't talk nonsense. It's not your business. Now I will ask the servant to bring Zizichen here and talk to him. He immediately ordered the boy who played the zither, please invite your father Z to go. The Earl asked, brother, who did you ask to go that day? Simon King smiled and said, ask Zhang Yuer and Hong Sire to go. The Earl said, brother, you are a human being. How can I know about it without telling me when you asked him to go? How is he more romantic than Li Guo? Simon King said, it's beyond words to describe a girl who knows sex. The Earl said, why was she so silent and twisted on your birthday the day before yesterday? She is also a lewd and treacherous little whore. Simon King said, wait a little while for me to go and take you for a walk. Your Yu Niang can play backgammon very well. You can play backgammon with her. The Earl said, wait for me to go and mess with that little whore. Don't let her go. Simon King said, you are a crooked dog. Just don't get to know him. As he was talking, Zizide arrived, nodded, and sat down. Simon King said, brother Chang has a new luxurious house and has moved in without telling us. Let's each contribute a little money and don't bother him at all. I'll arrange everything here and ask the servants to carry it to his house. I'll also hire 2 prostitutes. How about we have fun for a day? Zizida said, brother, tell us how much money each of us can contribute and we'll send it to you. Who else? Simon King said, there are no other people. Just these 3 or 4. 2 cents of silver per person will be enough. The Earl said, there are 10 too many people. There is no room for him. As he was talking, Qin Tong came and said, Uncle Wu is here. Simon King said, please invite your uncle to sit here. After a while, Uncle Wu entered the pavilion, bowed to the 3 people first, and then sat down with Simon King. The servant brought tea and drank it together. Uncle Wu stood up and said, brother, please come to the back to talk to me. Simon King quickly asked his uncle to go to Yu Niang's room in the back. Yu Niang was still drinking and listening to songs with her sisters in the pavilion when she heard someone say, my uncle is here. Dad is talking to him in the back. She went to the upper room and greeted her uncle. He asked Xiao Yu to bring her tea. Her uncle took out 10 taels of silver from his sleeve and handed them to Yu Niang, saying, we just received 3 ingots of silver from the government yesterday. My brother-in-law, please take these 10 taels. The rest will be sent to you later. Simon King said, my uncle, why are you so fussy? Just use it now. Why are you in such a hurry? My uncle said, I'm afraid I'll be late for you. Simon King asked, are the warehouses being repaired soon? My uncle said, it will take another month to finish. Simon King said, when the work is finished, the governor will definitely give you some reward. My uncle said, this year, the military examination will be held. Zheng is in your hands. I hope my brother-in-law will support me and speak for me during the inspection tour. Simon King said, I'll take care of my uncle's affairs. After saying that, Yu Niang said, please ask my uncle to sit in front with you. My uncle said, I'll go. I'm afraid the 3 of them will have something to say. Simon King said, nothing to say. Chang Erch recently asked me to borrow a few taels of silver to buy 2 houses and has moved in. Today he bought some gifts to thank me. He invited him to sit during the festival. It's just right for my uncle to come. so he asked him to sit in front. Yu Niang hurriedly asked the kitchen to send layer up. Qin Tong and Wang Jing first set up the 8 immortal table. The seats were straight. Simon King then asked the storeroom to open and take out a jar of chrysanthemum wine sent by Jia Tik Singh's family. When it was opened, it was clear and fragrant. It had not been sieved. First, a bottle of cold water was added to remove its spicy nature. Then, it was stored in a cloth steamer. After sifting out, it was mellow and delicious, and it was not like wine. He asked Wang Jing to pour a cup with a small golden bell, and first tasted it with Uncle Wu. Then the Earl and everyone else tasted it and praised it with great admiration. Soon, large plates and bowls were placed on the table, and everyone ate a meal. Then the stuffed crabs and 2 plates of roast duck were brought, and the Earl asked the uncle to eat. Even Zida didn't know what they were made of, but they were so flavorful, crispy and delicious. Simon King said, "This is a gift from my second brother Chang's family." The uncle said, "I have grown up to be 52 years old, and I didn't know that crabs can be so cooked and delicious." The Earl asked again, "Have the sisters-in-law tasted it?" Simon King said, "Everyone in the room has had it." The Earl said, "It's hard for my sister-in-law Chang. She is so clever." Chang Jiji laughed and said, "I'm afraid that I will make it unpalatable and make you laugh at me." After eating crabs, the waiters came up to pour wine. Simon King ordered Chun Hung and Shatong to sing southern songs one by one. Ying Boju suddenly heard the sound of zither playing and singing in the big pavilion, and asked, "Brother, is Li Guiji here today? Otherwise, how can there be such music?" Simon King said, "Listen again and see if it is true." The Earl said, "It is not Li Guiji, it is Wu Yanner." Simon King said, "You are just talking nonsense. It is a female teacher." The Earl said, "Isn't it Sister Yu?" Simon King said, "It's not her, it's second sister Shen. She is young, has a good talent, and can sing." The Earl said, "Is she really so good? Brother, why don't you bring her out for me to see? Just sing for me to listen." Simon King said, "Today, during the big festival, you ladies asked him to enjoy the Double Ninth Festival and play, but you only dogs have sharp ears and can hear." The Earl said, "Even if I have 1,000-mile vision and a sharp hearing, I can hear the buzzing of a bee 40 miles away." Zida said, "You beggar, your ears are like bamboo sticks. I'm afraid you can't hear." The two laughed again. And the Earl said, "Brother, please ask him to come out. I don't care about it. Just let him sing for his uncle. Don't be stubborn." Simon King couldn't bear his pressure, so he asked Wang Jing to bring Shen Erji out to sing for his uncle. After a while, Shen Erji came, kowtowed to him, and sat down on a cross-legged bed. The Earl asked Shen Erji, "How young are you?" Shen Erji replied, "I was born in the year of the ox, and I'm 21 years old." He asked again, "How many little songs do you know?" Shen Erji said, "I can sing 100 or so little songs on the pipa and zither." The Earl said, "You can sing a lot. That's enough." Simon King said, "Shen Erji, you can sing little songs on the pipa, so you don't have to work hard. I heard you can sing for dreams and 8 voids. Sing it for your uncle." He ordered Wang Jing and the book boy to pour wine during the banquet. Shen Erji straddled the shark silk, slightly opened her mouth, and sang slowly, while everyone drank without saying anything. Let's say Li Pinger returned to her room and sat on the clean bucket. It was like she was urinating, and she just kept on flowing, and her eyes were black. She got up to put on her skirt, and suddenly she felt dizzy and fell forward to the ground. Even though Yingxun was beside her, she still scratched her forehead. He and his nurse went to the king, were unconscious for half a day. Yingxun was panicked and hurriedly asked Shu Chun, "Hurry up and tell the aunt." Shu Chun went to the banquet and told Yunyang and the others. Yunyang left the banquet and hurried over with her sisters to see him. She saw Yingxun and the nurse to helping him sit on the king, unconscious. She asked. He was fine when he came into the room. How come he is not well now? Yingxun opened the clean bucket and showed it to Yunyang, which frightened Yunyang. She said, "I think he just drank a lot of wine, which made his blood flow, so he bleed all this." Yulu and Jinlian said, "He has drunk a lot of wine." They boiled a ginger soup and fed it to him. After a while, he woke up and spoke. Yu Nang asked, "Sister Li, why did you come?" Li Pinger said, I'm fine. I sat down and got up to put on my skirt. And then I saw a black spot in front of my eyes. And then I felt dizzy and fell down. Yu Nang asked Lianer to ask him to ask his father to come in and ask him to ask Dr. Ren to see you. Li Ping'er asked him to go away again, saying, "Don't make a fuss and disturb him." Yu Nang told Yingchun, "Make a bed and let your mother sleep." Yu Nang didn't drink anymore, and asked them to pack up and go back to the back. Simon King accompanied Uncle Wu and the others, and returned to Yu Nang's room in the evening. Yu Nang told Li Ping'er about her fall, and Simon King hurried to the front to see her. He saw Li Ping'er sleeping on the king. Her face was pale, and she was crying while pulling Simon King's sleeve. Simon King asked why. Li Ping'er said, "I went to sit on the stool in the room, and I don't know why, but I just felt like I was peeing. And I didn't notice a black spot in front of my eyes. I got up to put on my skirt, and the world was spinning, and I fell down." Simon King saw a bruise on her forehead and said, "The maids were all there, and they didn't look after you. How did you fall and hurt your face?" Li Ping'er said, "It's a good thing that the eldest maid was there, and the nurse was holding me up. Otherwise I don't know how badly I fell." Simon King said, "I'll ask Dr. Ren to come and see you tomorrow morning." That night, he slept on the bed opposite Li Ping'er. The next morning, he went to the government office and asked Qin Tong to ask Dr. Ren to come. He didn't come until noon. Simon King first had tea with her in the hall, and asked the servant to go in. Li Ping'er cleaned up her room, burned incense, and then asked Dr. Ren to come in. After checking the pulse, he walked out to the hall and said to Simon King, "The old lady's pulse is much heavier than before. The 7 emotions hurt the liver, and the lung fire is too strong, which leads to the strong wood and weak earth. And the blood is hot and running wildly, like a landslide and cannot be controlled. If the blood is purple, it can still be adjusted. If it is bright red, it is new blood. I have taken the medicine. If it stops a little, there is hope. Otherwise, it will be difficult." Simon King said, "I hope you will pay attention to adding or subtracting, and I will definitely thank you." Dr. Ren said, "What are you talking about? You and I are close, and you are clearly using your feelings. I will do my best." Simon King waited for tea and sent her out. Then he prepared a piece of Hangzhou silk and 2 taels of white gold, and asked the boy to get the medicine, named Kipi decoction. When she took it while it was hot, the bleeding continued. Simon King became more and more panicked, and asked Dr. Hu at the street to come and see her. Dr. Hu said that it was the qi rushing into the blood vessels, and the heat entering the blood chamber. And he also took the medicine. After taking it, it was like a stone sinking into the sea. Seeing that the imperial physicians were being invited in a hurry, Yu Nang only allowed Chen Erji to stay overnight, gave her 5 coins, a silk vest and a flower jade in a box, and sent her away in a sedan chair. Hua Xiu had been drinking since the day he opened the shop, and heard that Li Ping'er was not well, so he asked Hua Desao to buy the boxes of gifts to come and see him. Seeing that he was thin and pale, not like before, the 2 of them cried in the room. Yu Nang set tea and invited him to eat. Han Daoguo said, "There is a gynecologist named Zhao who lives outside the East Gate. He knows his gynecology and is very good. Last year, my young wife had menstrual problems, and it was he who came to see her. Dad asked him to come and see Liu Niang, and he will take care of her." After hearing this, Simon King asked Qin Tong and Wang Jing to ride on the front and go outside the gate to invite Zhao. Simon King invited Ying Boju to come and discuss with him. "The 6th roommate is in a very serious condition. What should we do?" The Earl was surprised and said, "This sister-in-law said that her condition was better. Why is it getting worse now?" Simon King said, "Since the death of her child, she has been worried and her illness has relapsed. Yesterday was the Double Ninth Festival. I picked up Shenerji and had fun with her. She didn't drink well, and she fainted when she walked into the room. She fell and broke her face. I asked Dr. Ren to take a look. He said that her pulse is heavier than before. After taking medicine, her blood is getting worse." The Earl said, "Please ask Hu what did the imperial physician say?" Shi Menking said, "Doctor Hu said that it was anger that rushed into the blood vessels. I took his medicine, but there was no improvement. Today, Han said that there is a doctor named Zhao Longging outside the door. He specializes in treating women. I asked the servant to invite him. I am very worried. I am worried about the child. I think about this disease day and night. The woman is not going to change her mind. I try to persuade him, but he won't listen to me. I am at a loss. As he was talking, Ping'an came to report. Kiao's father is here. Shi Menking led him into the hall and sat down with the earl. Mr. Kiao said, I heard that your mother is a little uneasy, so I came to ask about her. Simon King said, That's right. She has been worried about her child's death, and her body has been a little unwell, and now it's getting worse. I'm sorry for your concern, Mr. Kiao said. Have you asked anyone to see her? Simon King said, She takes Renhuxi's medicine regularly, and yesterday I asked Mr. Hu from the street to see her. She is getting better after taking the medicine. Today I asked Zhao Longgang, a gynecologist, to come and see her. Mr. Kiao said, The old man he who lives in front of our county. The big and small Fang the pulses are all very good. His son He Kixuan is now a doctor. Why don't you invite him to see your mother? Simon King said, Well, wait for Zhao Longgang to come, and then invite him to come and see. Kiao Dahu said, Dear relative, in my humble opinion, it is better to invite old man He first, and then wait for Zhao Longgang to come, and ask the two of them to talk in detail, and then find out the cause of the disease, then prescribe medicine. There is no reason that it will not work. Simon King said, You are right. At the same time, he asked Diane to take the visiting card and Kiao Tong to invite. After a while, old man He arrived, bowed to Simon King, Kiao Dahu and others, and asked him to sit upstairs. Simon King raised his hand and said, I haven't seen you for a few years. I don't realize that you have become grayer and whiter. Mr. Kiao asked again, Is your son doing well in his studies? Old man He said, He has to go to the county every day to greet people and send them off. I often come out to see patients. The earl said, You are old and still so healthy. Old man He said, I am 81 years old this year. After talking, he saw that tea was served and drank it. The servant said to go in. After a while, he invited Li Ping'er to the room, checked her pulse on the bed, and helped her up and sat on the kang. She looked very thin and miserable, but he saw that he was. His face was like gold paper and his body was like a silver bar. He looked at his plump figure and gradually lost his vitality. He could hear the sound of a bell in his ears and felt fireflies flying in his eyes. His 6 pulses were weak and deep, and his spirit was ethereal. The mourner had come to him. Bian Qiu and Lu Yi could not treat him. After checking her pulse, old man He went out to the hall and said to Simon King and Mr. Kiao, This lady, her blood vessels are affected by semen, and then she is angry. When qi and blood collide, the blood collapses. I wonder if this is the cause of her illness. Simon King said, If it is, how should we treat it? While they were talking, they suddenly heard Qin Tong and Wang Jing invited Mr. Zhao to come. Old man He asked, Who is he? Simon King said, It is also a doctor recommended by the clerk. You just deny that you know him. Wait for him to check her pulse, and then you can talk to him and prescribe medicine. Soon, Mr. Zhao came in from outside. Simon King exchanged greetings with him, and then met with everyone. Old man He and Mr. Kiao were in the middle, with him on the left, the earl on the right, and Simon King was in the main seat. After drinking tea, Dr. Zhao asked, What are your surnames, elders? The rich man Kiao said, One of us has the surname He and the other Kiao. The earl said, My surname is Ying. I think you must be Mr. Zhao Longgang. Dr. Zhao replied, Longgang is a cheap name. I am a doctor by profession. My ancestor was the director of the Imperial Hospital, and my father was a good doctor in your palace. My ancestors have been learning medicine for 3 generations. Every day, I study Wang Shuhan Dong Yuan Wudingxi's Ode to the Nature of Medicine, Huangdi Suwen, Nanjing, The Book of Living, Dangxi Zongyao, Dangxi Shenfa, Jigu Gamai Ju, Jiajian 13 Prescriptions, Qianjin Miraculous Prescriptions, Shou Yu Shenfang, Hai Shai Fang Fang, and read all the books. I use medicine to live in the chest. Paul's The Secret is pointed out clearly. The 6 qi and 4 seasons distinguish the yin and yang. The 7 surfaces and 8 li determine the rise and fall of the gates. The symptoms of wind deficiency, cold and heat are all seen at a glance. The pulse of string, big, swell, and stone is all understood. I am clumsy and can't explain it in detail. After hearing this, Mr. He said, may I ask what should be done first when treating a patient? Dr. Zhao said, the ancients said that observation, auscultation, questioning and palpation are sacred skills. I will ask about the disease first, then take the pulse, and also observe the compaction. Just like Xiping combined with the 5 stars, only then can I see accurately. And it is not wrong, Mr. He said. In that case, please go in and take a look. Simon King immediately ordered Qin Tong. Let's talk about it later. I have invited Mr. Zhao to come. After a while, Simon King accompanied him into Li Ping'er's room. Li Ping'er had just fallen asleep and was comfortably up again, and she was sitting against the pillow. Dr. Zhao examined her left hand first, then her right hand, and then instructed, Madam, raise your head and let me see how you look. Li Ping'er really raised her head. Dr. Zhao taught Simon King, Old man, ask the old lady who I am. Simon King then taught Li Ping'er, who do you think this is? Li Ping'er looked up and whispered, is he the doctor? Mr. Zhao said, Old man, it's okay, I recognize him. Simon King said, Mr. Zhao, please take a good look at me. I will reward you greatly. After examining her for a long time, he said, don't blame me for the old lady's illness. Judging from her complexion and pulse, she doesn't have typhoid fever, but a miscellaneous disease. It must be before the baby, not after the baby is born. Simon King said, it's not this disease. Please examine her carefully again. Mr. Zhao pondered for a long time and said, with such a yellow complexion, it is probably due to spleen deficiency and diarrhea, or it must be irregular menstruation. Simon King said, to be honest, sir, the woman is like this in the room, and the menstrual blood is dripping continuously. So she is thin. Do you have any emergency prescription or medicine? I will thank you greatly, Mr. Zhao said. How? I said it was irregular. Listen to me, Gong Kao Gan Sui and Sands, Li Luma Daudo and flour. Ginger juice with half summer, use black-headed almonds. How can you eat it? He said to Mr. Kiao. This man doesn't know anything. Old man, he said, I didn't dare to say it just now. This man is Zhao Daogui, who is famous outside the East Gate. He sells sticks and rings bells on the street to full people passing by. How can he know the pulse and the source of the disease? He said, for the old lady's illness, I will go home and get the prescriptions of medicine. If the menstrual flow decreases after taking it, and the chest opens a little, it will be easy to use the medicine. I'm afraid it won't stop, which will be difficult. After saying that, he stood up. Simon King gave Diane 1 ounce of white gold and asked Diane to bring a box to get the medicine. He and Li Ping'er took it in the evening, but there was no improvement. Wu Yunyang said, you can save your medicine for him. His appetite has been blocked. What's in his stomach? Just give him medicine to eat. Before, the immortal Wu said that he would have a blood disaster on the 39th day of his life, but this year he is not even 27 years old. You can also send someone to find the immortal Wu to calculate his fortune. I am afraid that he has offended some stars. Please help him to get rid of it. Simon King heard this and immediately sent someone to take a letter to Zhou Xiaobai's mansion to ask. There was a reply. The immortal Wu is a wanderer coming and going at random. When he came, he was at the Lan Temple in the south of the city. He went to Wudang Mountain in April this year. If you want to read the fortune, there is a Mr. Huang outside the Zhenwu Temple who is good at reading. One reading only costs 3 coins of silver, and you don't have to go to his house. Simon King immediately asked Chen Jingji to take 3 coins of silver and went directly to Mr. Huang's house at the north gate of Zhenwu Temple. There was a sticker on the door that read, copy and calculate the innate yi numbers, 3 cents for each divination. Chen Jingji stepped forward, bowed, offered the money, and said, I have a divination for you, sir. He wrote down his 8 characters for him. Female, 27 years old, born on the 15th day of the first lunar month, noon. Mr. Huang played the arithmetic and said, this person's fate is Shinwei year, Zhanjian month, Shinmao day, Jiawu hour. It is a yin sui pattern, borrowing the fortune of 4 years. 4 years old is Jiwei, 14 years old is Wu Wu, 24 years old is Dingxi, and 34 years old is Bingshan. This year is Dingyu. The luck is in charge of the equal. The year hurts the day stem. The star Jeju shines on the fate, and it also offends the 5 ghosts of the gate of death, and disasters and killings are in the air. The husband Jeju is a dark star. Its image is like a tangled thread without a head, and it changes unpredictably if it is encountered in the great fortune. It is mostly about dark things and diseases. It is the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 7th, and 9th months of the year, and the family will suffer from diseases and disasters. It is calculated by villains, and there will be disputes, and the loss of money, or it may be very unfavorable to the evil people. After copying the numbers, Jingji took them home. Simon King was sitting with Ying Boju and Wen Shukai. When he saw the numbers copied, he took them to the back and explained them to Yu Niang. Seeing that there are more bad things than good things in my life, I don't realize that there are 3 yellow locks between my eyebrows, and I am full of worries in my stomach.
Alright, this part of the story ends here.
Want to know what happened next? Let's listen to the breakdown next time.